Friends, and welcome to Ask Alicia. It is April 7th when I'm recording this, and I am so excited that it's springtime. I have been traveling a lot, I think some of you know, but I am back here at my home in Oregon for a couple weeks, and then I'm going to be at a few fairs. One is going to be the Body, Mind, Spirit Expo, and then the other one is up in Washington at BEPC Expo in Kent, Washington. So I hope to see you at one of those. And today we are channeling what I always thought was called a black cap finch, but I'm glad I looked it up because it's actually a chickadee. But they're really cute. I don't know exactly where all they live, but they seem pretty prominent in this area. And they have the blackheads, and they are cute little chickadee birds, and they have cute little calls like tweet tweet tweet. And I am certainly not an bird expert, but I am an expert at channeling things. So our collective message today is all about transitions, all about transformations. It, of course, is springtime, and that is one of the biggest natural transitions we see, where all the flowers start blooming. And if you live here, there's still snow too. So it's certainly been an interesting energy this season. And all of the messages that are coming through are about transcending and about really raising your energy up and rising to the occasion. So if there are new projects or new purposes or whatever it is that you want to get going, now is the time to do it. It's a great time to get those things off the ground that you've been thinking about, especially if you've been thinking about them for quite a while. There certainly is that magic in the air to have the growth behind it as the season continues. So please do get going. I actually just made a new batch of candles for the season. They're all pastel colored and super cute. And the reason I'm talking about this is also just to remind you to get those creative juices flowing. It doesn't necessarily have to be that you are starting a new business or, kicking off some big massive renovation or something like that. You can just have that creative juice flowing, and that will help to raise your energy as well. So if you like to play music, if you like to make crafts, if you just want to go on a walk, that's great. The point here is to be in a relaxed, tranquil state where which is, so just so I'm clear, we're really talking about in terms of your nervous system. You have a parasympathetic and a sympathetic nervous system. One of them is basically fight, flight, etc., where you are reserving your energy in order to respond to a traumatic situation of any sort. And you can kind of think back to caveman days, caveman lion, rawr. Um, and then the other side is basically when you're not in a dangerous situation or potentially threatening situation, you are able to have these creative flows. And that is so important because it's also the time not only when our body heals, when our immune system is working at its highest level. This is the state you get in when you are meditating and dropping your awareness into your heart. It is also the state of creation. And so, just kind of think about that. Even if you're trying to like cook dinner, someone's sitting there with like a gun to your head, it's like really hard to focus on making, I don't know, burritos, whatever you're cooking, right? And it's kind of this idea that you need to relax and rest and slow your nervous system in order to be in a space to create. And so, if you are able to kind of work that backwards and just start creating things, because for most of us, I'm very grateful to live in this beautiful place where no one is hurting me. And um, so for most of us, we are in safe states, is I guess what I'm trying to say. And it's so valuable. Look, they're flying around out there. Sorry, they're so cute. Um, I was saying most of us are in safe states, and so you can kind of work this backwards by just going into that creationary state and then seeing what flows afterwards, right? So making candles for me is a fun activity that I enjoy. And by creating those candles, and I always mix the flavors together of scents and put some color in there, all the things, right? So fun. That will actually help then for me to already be in that creationary state. Then I can say, okay, what sort of downloads are ready for me? What sort of energetic codes am I ready to receive now that I'm in this state? And so this is effectively a more active meditation, right? Yoga would be another style of active meditation, depending on what style of yoga you're doing. And the idea here is to really bounce into that state where you are able to transform, right? It takes a lot of energy to transform, to grow, to change. It also requires a lot of patience. And I just want to remind you that, like, as things are changing, it's pretty common for us to have these emotions around that. And I want you to remember not to basically get carried away with them. You know, if you have truly decided that this is a change that you want, please stay dedicated to that. Please stay diligent in your desires to have those changes occur. And when that emotion comes up, um, just allow yourself to work through it and stay on, um, and not necessarily that you have to stay on track, right? But stay to the original long-term goal, right? There's always going to be things that come up that require us to change and move and be flexible in certain ways. So, whew, I have been talking very quickly for myself, but I'm in love with these messages. There's also an air of dreaming bigger and of, you know, as much as you might think you're going, I don't know, like as much as you think you're going to have a little garden pot, maybe you have acres and acres of gardens coming to your way. And so it's not necessarily that you have to have that full vision of where you are heading, but it's this request to raise your expectation of where it could go, right? So if you've worked with me before, you've heard me when we talk about transition and about change. A lot of times I like to use the example of moving houses, right? In order to move houses, you have to go apply for the new place, whether it's a mortgage or a lease or whatnot. Usually there's some sort of application period, then maybe you have to wait for it. And you have to like, and maybe depending on where you're at, you have to save money up for a down payment. There's like all these stages that are required. And then eventually you have to start like packing all your stuff up. And then once you pack all your stuff up, you put it in a truck and then, you know, I'm kind of generalizing, but that's usually what I do. I put it in a truck and then you drive to the new place and you unpack it, right? And so there's this degree of actually having to not only prepare for the change, you know, when you're getting those documents in place, saving up for your down payment, whatever it is, right? There's even just like looking for the new place that you want to live, right? You might look at 5 places before you decide. Um, and so there's kind of like this pre period, this planning period for your change. And then you have the actual change occurring itself where you're packing all your things up and getting ready to move. And then you actually physically have to leave, right? You have to leave the old house behind, lying in the sand. We are not going back. You know, maybe you get sentimental and drive by, but you are not going to go live there again, most likely. Um, and so there's this idea that if you are truly wanting to change, and now we're, you know, applying this to, um, it can really be any change, but specifically spiritual transcension or ascension, depending on what terms you like to use. Um, you literally have to leave that old you behind, right? You are not able to be the same person. And what's so exciting about this is that like the new version is actually better, right? We are in the understanding, we are of the belief that you're transcending to something better, right? We're not just saying like, oh, you know what? I'd really like to just go backwards. And, this is not a retrograde here that we're talking about, right? We are talking about really advancing and not just advancing a little bit, advancing in leaps and bounds. We are having those quantum shifts. We are having those quantum changes now. The energy is collapsing. It is available for us to go through some of these portals and stargates and things. And we don't always believe that. So I really want to encourage you that, even if you are not able to believe fully the long term of where you want to go, try not to not believe it, if that makes sense, right? You don't want to put native energy that is in opposition to it, because that's going to feed the opposite fire. If you're not able to feed the new fire, whatever you're trying to build into, try at least not to rip it down, right? We are, I guess I would just say, self-sabotage is not uncommon. So do your best to be on your own team, right? To support yourself, to support the changes you want to make, to be kind to yourself, to be patient with yourself, really allow yourself to relax and rest, because that's where these changes occur. If you just kind of keep running a million miles a minute, it's much harder to be successful. So I'm hearing that we should pull a number. So as you know, I love my Doreen Virtue animal angel numbers 101 book. Our number today is 798. And the message is that the universe supports you as you focus on giving service and following the passion of your spiritually based career. So 100%, like am I trying my best to, and I don't even want to say that, right? I'll catch myself sometimes in these words and these phrases that I use. I think that's part of the reason they wanted the number, right? We're not trying anymore. We are doing, right? And the idea here is to truly give yourself um, the momentum, the power, and know that this is divine power. This is divine force that comes through our energetic system. There are so many factors, and dare I say it, other spirits and all kinds of energies that help me out a lot in this. And I am at this point like fully dedicated to a spiritual career. So if you guys need help, if you want help, if you gals want help, if anyone wants help, I am here, and I'm trying to um, I'm not trying to do anything. I'm just doing it. And I think that is really exciting. I've been blessed to hear so many of your stories that are just downright miraculous, magical, and blessed. And I am honored to be a part of this. And, this is sort of the messaging that's coming through with these transitions from the Black Capped Finch, or sorry, Chickadee. And it's, as much as we are leaving behind a past version, we are also welcoming in this new version while honoring where we've been, honoring who we have been. The point is not to, crap all over the life we've lived and the paths we've taken, and to drudge up and think negatively about it, right? That's not helpful. We can't change the past, and I would challenge anyone on that. But for most of us, it's very difficult to change the past. And the challenge I know someone's going to ask is that you can change how you feel about the past, and you can change how the past influences you. And in your ability to do that, you are able to change the past, because it doesn't um, hold the same power over you. And I am called to share an example of that, right? Someone who perhaps has had a lot of grief. If you continue to hold on to that grief, it will only influence your current decision making, your current life lived, your current emotional state. If we are holding grief about a past experience, that grief is not serving us today for usually, right? If it's very recent, let your emotions process through. But if you are holding on to long past grief, that's not that helpful anymore because you are spending time and energy and resources um, engaging in these negative feelings. And the hope is that, or the idea, I guess, is that those energies and time and feelings and whatnot could be spent towards, growing and fulfilling and transmuting your life more so than um, holding you in those past memories. So that was fun. I am so grateful. Just to make some quick announcements, you all know the website is roseco.co. It has had a whole facelift, so go check it out if you like. The Free to Love program is up and running. We are doing a workshop in May, so I would love to have you join that. It is live on third Wednesdays at 6 p.m. Pacific time. And we are also going to do a group program if you want to join a group and kind of follow through with those transitions. Wow, this is great. These are really interconnected. It just hit me. So Free to Love is all about really transforming anything that's no longer serving you and loving yourself more authentically, your higher self, your true self, your soul level self, I would say. And as you know, I'm not big on words. As long as you get the meaning, that's the gist of it. I really am confident that we are working with energies. We are working in those quantum fields and the Akashic fields. Whatever terms you like to use are a-okay with me. The purpose here is that we are energetically aligning to the highest version of ourselves. And so I would love for you to check that out if you haven't already. And I also just have some other things I'm cooking up. It's been a busy winter, so keep your eyes open. Join the email list if you haven't. That is definitely the easiest way to get these updates. And we're just gonna pull a card and see if there's anything else. And that's so fun. It's really all about not only experiencing the best that life has to offer, but working cooperatively with those around you for the highest good of your community. And this is just so relevant right now because there are, there's this, I'll call it a falling apart of, or an unraveling, I guess would be a better word, of the dimensions that we are living in. And like to some extent, that this, oh God, are you gonna make me say, okay, yeah, I'll just say it. To some extent, this could be like the rapture, right? Which I'm not a super religious person, but basically, you're either enlightening and continuing to move your vibration up, or you're not. Okay. And so I will tell you from experience, it is a lot better to just keep moving with that river. Keep it going. Keep moving with change. Change is a guarantee in life. There's that saying, the only guarantee is change. I'm not getting that saying right at all. But change is constant. And we are almost conditioned to accept unchanging circumstances. And it makes, the more difficult that change is for you, the more difficult it's going to be, right? So I want you to be in this habit of change. And part of change is like a bit of discomfort, right? And not pain, but discomfort, because you're going someplace new. And let's just use the example of moving houses, right? Especially if you move across states or even into other countries, right? Like the first, I don't know, month or two, you're really just figuring out, where is the grocery store? What gas station do I like to go to? Like, oh my God, which restaurant is great? So like that, right? You're really focusing. Maybe you need to find a laundromat. Maybe, um, there's an issue with your house that you have to get fixed up. Maybe you're just still unpacking your stuff and like settling in, right? There is so much newness with change that if you create comfort in that change, if you create a confidence and a knowing that no matter where you go, no matter how you change, you will be safe and secure and doing what is the best for you, the highest and best possible good for all involved, right? And that typically occurs, but we don't always realize it when we're in the moment, right? You might have a meltdown over something so arbitrary. And it's more that you are struggling with this change than the actual thing that you are having an emotional response to, right? So I'm just really grateful for you to remember that you have more support than maybe you're allowing in, particularly spiritual support, right? Not only do we have the support of all of our friends and family and whatnot, our coworkers, whoever you spend your time with. My neighbors, honestly, are super amazing. I'm a big neighbor person. And there's this reality that uh, you have that spiritual support available to you, those spiritual connections, that spiritual cooperation. And so, especially if you are having low feelings, low vibrational feelings, any sort of sadness or grief or anger, anything like that, um, and it's the case where you really need to call it in. You need to ask for that help. We have this free will, so unless we, request that, uh, it's much easier if we make that call. And you can literally think of it like, a lot of people ask, how do you improve your intuition? And they're just like waiting for something to show up. Well, guess what? That's like sitting next to the phone and waiting for it to ring, right? You can also similarly pick up the phone and call them, right? So just know that if you are in a physical body, if you are a dense person, which I'm assuming most people on this call are, um, know that you really have this beautiful um, uh, dense power behind you, right? We are dense physical material beings at this point in time. And there is this idea that we are transitioning to be more light bodies. And so even if you think about just your aura, right? I think most people are familiar with this energetic field around us usually called an aura. There's other names too. You can also think of the chakras, right? We know I want to say seven. we, we know the body chakras pretty well, but not everybody realizes that you have an eighth chakra above your head. You have a whole um, field of chakras outside of your body. And these are the chakras that are oftentimes connecting energetically and telepathically with other energies around you, other spirits around you. Even if you are saying something like, "Oh, I was just thinking about you," and you called on the phone, right? Somewhere you had that awareness of that other person's aura way out there, and they're thinking about you, and you're like picking it up like a radio, right? So remember too, your thoughts are so similar to radio. You can change the channel on them. You can turn them off for a little bit. Little chickadee friends are back, and you can. And I love that idea of tuning the radio to a different station, right? Not only can you tune your awareness to your family, to your home life, to your work life, to your life purpose, to whatever you can think about, but you can also tune it to the spirit realms. You can tune it to what's outside and things like that. So, yeah, thank you so much. Someone's at my door, so I'm going to get off and I love you all and I'll talk to you soon. All right. Bye bye.